In today's episode, Traci and I are going to be talking about the importance of being able to look back on your past work and to find both your successes and your failures as you keep moving forward in your creative practice. Traci really leans into this idea of telling your story authentically and then being able to use those elements to find those threads of truth that come through in all of your creative works. And I love this idea because I've been able to see how Traci's work has developed and really got a depth of meaning to it because of her staying true to this creative voice and to her story. So I hope that you are going to enjoy this episode along with us. Let's get into it.
Gotta get messy and show the world you growing as an artist. And you're free to be yourself. You got a dream, you need to start it. Stick together. Get messy says you're formally invited to a community where you can find people that spark the field of excitement. Too many art supplies, not enough time. Know it's tough, and so you must find a way to feel some connection. We got a lot of people with the same kind, a great mind. We here for you, a platform so we can hear your views. Time's yours, forget yours. I know you bored of them same rules.
So, welcome to another Get Messy podcast episode. Today, I'm going to be talking to the amazing Traci Taylor, and I am so excited to jump into all of the exciting creative wisdom that Traci has got for us. So, Traci, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody listening today?
Sure. Thank you, Claudette. I'm super excited to be here and chat with you today. Always look forward to chatting with you. So, for those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Traci Taylor, and I live in the beautiful Arizona desert with my husband and my kids and grandkids. And luckily enough, my siblings and my parents, just our whole family is in the area or within an hour or two of each other. So my big, beautiful family is just the heart of me. But I've been creative my whole life, music, crafting, words, cooking, gardening, you name it. I've done it. I've dabbled in all of the creative elements that you could. So it's just a big part of who I am.
And I've never heard your art journaling story. I don't know how you ended up
No.
here.
Okay, well, so like I say, I've been creative my whole life. Like I have bits of cards and letters that I have sent to my grandparents saved everything I sent them, and I have little pieces that were like little cutout collage. I didn't realize I was collaging back then, but I was collaging back then, did a whole lot of writing all my life. Matter of fact, when I was a little girl, I used to write words and poems on the wallpaper in my bedroom. It had
Oh,
big,
wow.
huge orange and yellow flowers. And then I had the green shag carpet on the floor. So it was almost like it was like my own little secret garden. But I wrote stuff all on that wall. Like it was just a huge part of who I was. Dabbled in, like, I did the Bob Ross painting phase when it came out. That was like my first like artistic foray, like not professional, but like legit artist experimentation. I took some watercolor classes at our local community college for a little while, but I think it was 2019-ish. I started doing some multimedia classes, not multimedia, mixed media classes with Kelly Ray Roberts. And she mentioned art journaling. I was currently making things on canvases or canvas board or wood board, like she was doing, and
Okay.
realized very quickly that my whole house was gonna be covered with like, and my family's houses were going to be covered with canvases if I didn't find a different way to create all of this. And she mentioned art journaling in one of her classes. And I was like, what's art journaling? And so I went to Google and
Mm,
oh my, like I remember feeling like I was just like, what?
mm,
What? I can do all of this in books. And so, like, that Googling led me very quickly to Get Messy. And I joined Get Messy, and the rest is just a beautiful experiment in imperfect art expression in tiny little books, and it makes my heart so happy. And it was perfect. I joined Get Messy the fall of 2019, which was right before, like, was right when the pandemic was
mhm,
starting. And so that finding art journaling right then really helped the next year or so, when we were
mm,
all in the middle of the pandemic and going through quarantine. And especially for me, I was disconnected from a big part of my family, even though we lived locally.
mm,
Like, when various ones of us were quarantined, we didn't see each other, even though we just lived, like, my dad lives across the street from me, but when we were quarantined, we weren't seeing each other.
mm,
So it was really helpful to have the art journal to pour a lot of myself into. And then my family started doing Zoom calls with each other. And when we would be doing Zoom calls, I would be creating in my journal. And so I would ask them, so pick a color. I'm doing the next layer on this page. Pick a color. Or
mm,
tell me a song lyric, or tell me. So my pages in my some of my very first art journals I ever made
mhm.
are full of collaborations with my family from when we
Oh,
were in quarantine and stuff. So those are really fun pages to look back on.
mm.
So yeah, that's my art journaling story.
Oh, I love it. So I think you and I probably then discovered art journaling and Get Messy round about the same time, because I also
Oh,
joined in
really?
2019. Yeah, so that's quite interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so
Me too.
you've been creating ever since then. I mean, you've got a really
Mhm.
consistent practice, right? And how many
Yeah.
journals have you filled? Have you counted?
I have not counted. Actually, it's kind of funny that you asked me that, because on my list, I've been working on my list for 2025 and kind of thinking of some projects and things that I've really been wanting to do. And one of the things that I really want to do is gather up all my journals, see how many I've created. It really inspires me when I see
Mm,
Kaylee post things about how many journals she made in each year. And um,
mm,
it's funny, there's a real loose artsy side of me that doesn't care if I'm
mhm,
organized, but then there's another side of me that likes certain things organized. And sometimes it would be really awesome to be able to go, oh, okay, I
mm,
made a journal about this, I made a page about this, and it's in this journal, and this is how I find it. And sometimes I wish my journals were very organized, like I
mm,
had almost a database of my journals. So stay tuned. It's on my list to gather up and count how many journals I've made and kind of think of a way to start. I'm going to have to start cataloging them, because I just branched out to another shelf. I had one shelf, one
mm.
cubby going of journals, and I've had to branch out a little bit. And I'm realizing they're everywhere. They're taking over my studio. They're just, of course, it doesn't help that it's the season of binding, and I've been binding journals like a crazy woman. So I've never had so many empty journals in my
Oh,
studio as I do at this moment, which thrills me. Like, it's just so exciting, because I'm like,
mm.
ooh, I look at that one and I think, I wonder what you're going to be. I wonder what I'm going to fill your pages with. I don't know yet. And that's super exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. The potential, right? It's the potential that they hold.
Yes. Yes. How many have you
So,
made? Have you counted yours? Do you
well,
know how many journals
this
you've made?
this was what I was going to ask you. Like, do you ever wreck your journals? Do you tear them apart? Do you burn them? Do you throw them away? Like, is that something you've ever done?
I have taken apart a couple of journals and reused the pages. And I at first really wrestled with doing it because I like going back to my journals,
Mm,
but I loved the process of taking them apart. And I love when I look at them, the pages now that have the other journal incorporated into them. I love that I could, because I know that that was something else. And so the
mm,
layer, it's almost like it added another layer to the journal that it's currently in because I know what it came out of and what it was born out of when I created it. And then I also know the process of what it felt like when I took it apart and then when I recreated it. And so it just added even more depth to the page that it's on now. So who knows?
mm.
It could turn into something else down the road. I don't do it on the regular because I don't know, it took a lot for me to get to the point where I did do it. I've not burned one yet. I will say yet because I haven't burned one yet. I've drowned one in coffee before, inspired by
Well
you.
done.
Yes, and I love how crunchy the paper gets. I
Mm,
love that the water soluble stuff runs like that. That stuff doesn't
mm,
bother me, but it does take a little bit of have to muster a little bit of bravery
mm,
before I just like I don't just jump in and just tear it up. I have to kind of think through it. But I love it. I love the process of doing
mm.
that to it. So, but how would you count that then? So, if you
Yeah,
had a
well, this
journal
is why
that
I'm
you yeah.
asking, right? Because I don't like going back to my old journals. I
Hmm.
really strongly dislike having to look back on past work. I it just
Do you know
frustrates me.
why? Why? Like, is it the you do not like
Um,
revisiting where you were when you created it? Do you not like looking at the style that came before? Like what
I
part of
think
that? I'm
I'm
curious.
not very sentimental, right? So when I feel
Oh,
like I'm done, like it's done. I don't feel a
I
need to
see.
go back and look at it again. That I feel like it did its work for me. I think maybe
Mm,
because it's so much about the process, right? So that
yes.
I've gotten through that process and it did what it needed to, and like there's no more purpose for it. So I don't
Mm,
even like taking it apart and putting it in something else again because I feel
hmm.
like it's done. It
It's done.
almost makes me feel quite uncomfortable just thinking about looking
Hmm.
at past journals. It's so weird. So
That's
right,
interesting.
so I either
Interesting.
burn them or I throw them away. I literally just take them and throw them away. So I could never count how many. I suppose I should have started counting before I started destroying them. That would have helped.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I have got no idea. I don't know how many I've created. I don't know how many I've destroyed. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
I
I guess if the number matters to you, because that's the other thing I'm trying to evaluate in
mm,
gathering all mine up and counting them is if it really does it really matter? Like
mm,
if I want to find a page, I kind of like having to go spelunking through my journals and seeing if I can find it. It doesn't really bother me. I am very sentimental and I
mm.
do struggle with throwing things away if I'm attached to them. So I don't know. It's very inspiring for me when I go back
Yes.
through my old journals and
Mm,
I like in for a lot of reasons like it's inspiring to remember different situations I was in when I created them, kind of like what I just said about the quarantine journal.
mm,
Like it's really fun to go back through that and just kind of remember some of those conversations. It's exciting to look back and see when I started art journaling and some of the techniques that I used and I can see the times where I was like super like just into the process and just playing and not overthinking it, and then I can kind of see when it started mattering a little bit more to me, and
Mm,
I started getting in the overthinking because I started thinking, okay, like people are looking at my pages now on Instagram, and people are like, I went through a phase where I was overthinking what the page
mm,
might turn out like, and I can see my creative blocks. I can see it. So it's kind of, I enjoy the going
mm,
back and looking through and thinking through all of that. But I can also see the merit in closing the book, turning the page, and just like being done. That helps. I think that would
mm,
help me focus more on the process of the creating right now, and not thinking of it as I'm creating a library that's going to sit on my shelf
mm,
that somebody will look at. And, I think that would detach me more from
mm,
what the project turns into, compared to just the process of it and the following my intuition as I'm creating.
mm.
So I can see merits to both.
Well, I agree with you, right? Because I love when we're in the Curiosity Collective where we go back to
Hmm.
past seasons and you've always got your journal ready and you can say, like, this was the season, this was when I watched the lesson, this is what I
Yes.
created. I can't do that, right? I'm like,
Yes.
I know I did the season, but I've got nothing to show for
Hmm.
it. So,
Hmm.
and even in like if you've a lot of classes and things where teachers can go back and say, this is how my styles developed, this is where I started, and this is where I am now. And I look at that and I'm like, well, I'm never going to be able to do that because the journals are just gone. So I've had to
Yes.
sort of accept that that's just part of who I am, and I'm fine with it.
Yes. Yeah.
I can live through all of you that have got your journals to show me, because I love it. I
Right.
love it when you can show the journal and say, here it is, this is what I did like 3 years ago, and we do the lesson
Yes.
again and you can see the difference, right? That's so fun.
Yeah.
So I'll just live vicariously through
Yeah.
you.
Well, it's really fun to be able to have that and compare that, but the creating the creating that you do is what creates, like, you are the artist
Mm,
you are today because of all those pages that you've created up until now. And even if you don't have those pages to show and compare to anyone, all of that, it's kind of like who we are in our life
mm,
now. Like, you didn't know me when I was 2 or when I was 15 or when I was 20, and I'll stop right there so you don't figure out how old I am. But all of that part of my life has made me who I am
mm,
today. And whether I can show you that or not, you know all those layers of me because you know me now.
mm,
So all those layers of you and the art that you created is in the art that you're creating now, whether you can pull it off the shelf or not. So it's kind of, I like to think of the cumulative,
mm.
part that comes with you as you're creating. And it's really fun to be able to pull it off the shelf. But even if you can't, it's all part of you. It's all part of you.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But it's interesting how everyone's different, right? And your personality
Mhm.
just shines through in, like you saying, I like being messy, but I also want it all categorized
Mhm.
and cataloged. And,
Yes.
it's just how it's fascinating to see how each one's different facets come through, even in small things like how you store your
Yeah.
journals or how you view your journals. It's really beautiful, actually.
Yeah. It is. It
Mm,
is. And I guess the bottom line comes down to, if there's only a certain amount of time in the day, would I
mm,
rather be cataloging my journal or making more pages in my journal? And 99.999% of the time, I want to create in my journal. So that's why
mm.
my journals are not cataloged in any certain way. And I know it's, I look around my studio because my studio is pockets of, like, this space you're seeing behind me is a very carefully curated experience that you're getting right now. Because if I showed you the other side of my room, you'd be like, oh yeah,
Mm,
she cleared off her desk so you can see that. But everything's in here. Like, when I
mm.
get ready to look for something, I think, okay, I know it's in here. It's just kind of like a little treasure hunt to find it. So I use the word spelunking quite a bit because
I,
I just go
I love
spelunking for
it.
things. It's all part of my process. It's part of my
Yeah.
process. Mm.
And do you have a system like when you are working in the seasons, because I love that you can always go back. You can find it. It might
Mhm.
take a minute or two, but you
Yes.
can find it. Have you got like a date? Do you put a date and the season name at the start of your journal, or is there some kind of documenting that you do?
Yeah, so for probably the first couple years that I was a part of Get Messy, I would make a specific journal for each season. And on the front, it would say the month and usually the season name and the year. And I knew everything that happened for that month,
Mm,
season classes, any workshops, any personal creating that I was inspired to do from the season, everything from that month would be in that journal. And the first time that I veered from that, I think was a couple journals before the new Get Messy journal came out, and I experimented with just kind of haphazardly putting in different seasons into one journal. And at first it felt really uncomfortable because I was like, okay, this, like, I don't know what this is. Like, what season is this? It's a hodgepodge of, like, because I think it hit during a time of the year where I got really busy, and so I got behind on a season. Well, you're never
mm,
really behind, but in my mind, I had missed a couple of classes, but then a new season was starting, so I didn't want to make this season journal and then not be able to do this one. So I thought, well, I'll just take a journal and catch up on those classes when I can and move ahead with this one. And so I mixed them up a little bit. And in the inside of the journal, I wrote what what it was, but I didn't do
mm,
a cover that said this is the season of and the date and everything. And I kind of liked how that felt. And so I've done a couple of journals that way now. It just depends on what I'm Messy May is always its own journal.
mm,
Junk journal January is always its own, just, and I don't put anything in there except for the prompts. The first Messy May, I mean, sorry, the first Get Messy journal that came out, that one has several seasons in it. And the way I labeled that is I printed off the little, let me see, I thought I don't, I'd have to go spelunking. The little
oh, the
season
sidekick.
printout, yes, from the Sidekick.
Mm,
I I would take that off of it and put it in the journal and then I have multiple pages in that journal that I did the start of the season questions that you
mm,
always ask us, where you say, what do you want from this season? What do you need from this season? So I would put that on a page in there, and then they're random. I don't think I've ever done a journal. Oh no, I take that back. Messy May this year, it was the first time of using the challenge journal. And so I
mm,
did first page all the way to the last page. And since I've started art journaling, I've never done that before. I flip through the journal and put my hands on the pages and just see
mm.
where it feels good to me to start a page. I've never, like, started at the front and just gone to the back of the page. I do it very haphazard. And so that's the way the Get Messy journal is. It's not full yet. I think it currently has 3 seasons in it, but I've kind of
Okay.
bounced around a little bit because I started binding journals and binding. So I bound some of the open spine journals that with the tutorial that Diana showed us at the Curiosity
Mm,
Collective. But then I also have been I don't know what like flip the switch, switch the flipped, whatever's happened in my head, all these papers that I've been hoarding in my studio. For some reason, I just the gatekeeper is out to lunch. Whatever
oh,
gatekeeper has been keeping me from using those papers, I think they went on vacation because I'm grabbing papers that I've had sitting around for years and I'm going, okay. this it's sitting in the cupboard or sitting in a drawer. Nobody is seeing it. I'm not
Mm.
seeing it. I'm not creating with it. I'm not inspired by it. So I'm using them. And I pulled them out one day and just bound this funny little junk journal that I the cover is like an envelope, and it's not even the big part of the envelope, it's just the tiny little flap is the cover. Like it I've never randomly thrown journals together like this, and it like it's so much fun. So I have empty journals that are very strange, all over the place, just waiting to be filled, which makes my heart so happy.
Mm. You've now started working like the seasons in one journal, right? So you're not trying
Mhm.
to fill a journal per season.
Mm-mm.
Have you got empty journals? Have you got journals where you've started a season and not finished the journal? So
Yes.
they've got
Uh,
some empty pages in. And does
Yeah.
that bother you?
Sometimes, so I had this idea one time I was going to create a shelf that I was going to hang a vacancy sign, a vacancy and a no vacancy. So full journals could go over here. If they had open pages, they could live here so that I knew, okay, I've got an idea for a page. Where should I put it? And there would be journals waiting for me with empty pages. But I kind of think the ones that have the theme of the specific season, I feel like when I go, because I've pulled them off the shelf, because I know I mark them. If the pages are empty, I put a little post-it so that I can, see that
Okay.
it's empty.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them I've taken the post-its out because I just don't feel I just don't haven't felt well up till now haven't felt inspired to put anything else
Mm.
in there that goes with it. Some of them there are pages that I have reserved for lessons that I didn't get to during that season, and I keep thinking, okay, someday I'm going to go back and visit that lesson that I didn't get to, or maybe Claudette will hit on that lesson in the Curiosity Collective and I can fill in that page. But it
Mm.
used to bother me that it because when I very first started this season, a couple years ago, when I very first was trying to come I keep circling around trying to come up with a routine for my
Mm.
creating, and I can't I can't seem to lock one down, which I think for me means that's not how I create best.
Mm.
I think I
Mm.
need some, like, I know I want to create every day. I know I need to do something creative each day with my hands, whether it's create a full page or just paint or doodle some pages, go through a magazine and pull out some images. I know for me, I need to be in my studio each day, even if it's
Mm.
just to do, even if I just come in here. I've been recently been through phase in my life. My dad in the last few months has had some health issues, and my time was extremely limited. My emotions were limited. My mental capacity was limited for creating. And there were literally days I walked in here knowing that my heart desperately needed to create, but I had
Mm.
absolutely nothing to like I couldn't even muster doing anything. And so
Mm.
sometimes
Mm.
I would there was one day I came in here and I think I pulled a piece of paper out of the garbage can even, like I couldn't find, like I didn't have anything out. And I just took a pencil that was on my desk and just kind of scribbled, like just moved my hand in the way that it's accustomed to creating. And it like I think I wadded it back up and put it in the garbage can. Like it was nothing, but it was just like, okay, I needed to
Mm.
be in the space. I needed to be moving my hand in that way and just
Mm.
transferring whatever it is that making art does to help transfer the insides out. And that was enough for that day. Now,
Mm.
granted, when I go through seasons like that, especially if they're extremely intense emotionally, mentally, just the whole situation was, um, I'm still learning to give
Mm.
myself just breathing room to realize, okay, this is not a permanent situation. This is a temporary situation. And
Mm,
sometimes just giving myself the break and the breathing room is better than pushing through
mm,
okay, I'm going to get in and I'm going to create no matter what. Sometimes I just can't, depending on how intense
mm,
the situation is. I've also been through creative blocks where I was creating every single day. Like I can think of one and I can't even remember when, like what season it was, what time of year, whatever. No, it might have been, was it last year? Might have been last year about this time. But every day I would go, like I know I need to go in and create every day. That's my
mm,
habit, whether it's, you know, a routine or not. But I was creating every day and everything I made felt weird. It
mm,
didn't look like me. It looked like somebody else had come in my studio and made art in my books. Like it was the weirdest thing. It was like that doesn't look like me. That doesn't feel like me. That like I don't understand what's happening, but I kept showing up. I kept putting that weird art in my books. Those are some trippy pages to go back and look at because I just look at them and I think I don't know what's happening, but it was almost like had tapped into a layer of myself that was like very
mm,
unfamiliar. It was like just keep going. You'll eventually get back to the heart of who you are. And that's what it felt like. Like little by little, it was like, oh, okay, I see myself coming back to the page. And it was just a matter of working through whatever, like I don't like I can't pinpoint what that was. Like I don't there wasn't anything going on in my life necessarily that
mm,
made things weird. It just I would feel and think something, but the way it came out on the page was like there was a disconnect or something. But it was like when the internet service gets sketchy. My connection was a little sketchy there for it was a good month. And
mm,
like I tried to just keep showing up and not really give myself a rigid schedule or this is how you have to do it because I really don't think the creative part of me will allow myself to be locked down like that because that's why I started to
mm,
tell you I used to have a very rigid, so like when the season came out I would write down the artist's name and how many times they were teaching and any other creative things I had going on for the month and made myself a checklist. And if at the end of the month I hadn't checked all those boxes and all those lessons weren't safely tucked into my journal, it really bothered me. And
mm,
so I kept thinking, okay, I've got to find a way to get all those lessons in my journal. And then one day I was like, or I can throw away that list with all those stinking check boxes on it and just not worry about that part of it. So that's the part that I did. And
mm,
I still try and plan, like I know when the Get Messy lessons are coming out. I have a few other things that I subscribe to and do, and so I know when those are coming, and I allow myself to create off of what inspires me to
mm,
create instead of just going, okay, this is something that's available to me. I need to do it so that at the end of the season I can say I did it all. And that's not something I strive for anymore. It was when I was starting, and maybe that's what I needed. Almost kind of um like when I was newly married, like I've always loved cooking. Even like when I was a little girl, I used to bake cakes and decorate them and do things. But when I first started cooking dinners and stuff for my husband, like I followed recipes and the
mm,
recipes from his mom and his grandmother and my grandmother, and like I would follow them to a T and measure everything and um figure out how the ingredients worked with each other and if people liked it, if they didn't like it, and made lots and lots of mistakes and
mm,
burned some things and over seasoned things and figured all that out. But as my confidence grew in using the ingredients and in you know making those things, now I
mm,
hardly ever use a recipe, I hardly ever measure. And it's kind of the same way with my art. When I first started, I did a lot of copying other people, stealing like an artist, using their style and their colors and their ideas. And then as I've kind of grown into my own, which I still don't even know. People talk about their style. Like, I don't know if somebody could pick my art out of a lineup if they needed to, if we lined up art journals and you were to
I
say
could.
pick out an art page, an art journal page that Tracy made. You might,
I
if I
would
took the
find it.
butterflies off
I
of them, you
would.
guys may not be able to tell, but um it's kind of style is a funny thing, and I
Mm,
kind of think it's the same with what I said about my creating. Like, I want people to recognize my art, but at the same time,
mm,
I don't want to lock myself. I don't want to lock myself down to, okay, this is my style. This is what I've arrived at creating. This is it. Like, I want to keep learning and growing and changing, and like I think it would be
mm.
exciting to make a page that somebody would be like, I would have never pictured Tracy making a page like that. I mean, that's pretty exciting, to me. I want elements of me to be on there. There's colors that I love, there's images that I love, there's techniques that I love that I use regularly. But I want to keep growing, and I still feel like such a newbie in a lot of ways.
Oh, no, I think I've got so much that's going on in my mind. Okay, so I want to first say you've definitely got a style, right? And it comes back to that of the colors, what you were saying about how you
Mhm,
use your colors, and there's certain ways that you do layering and your
mhm,
butterflies and things. But that's what gives you your creative voice, right? And
mm.
Lisa Condon's got a book. What is it called? I think, is it Find Your Voice? Find Your Artistic Voice? It's in the next room, so I can't find it. I can't
Mm.
see the title right
You'll
now.
have to go
But in
spelunking.
I'll have to go. But in that book, she discusses how those consistent elements are what give you your voice, right? But by pushing yourself every time you create, and by seeing how far you can take something or how much you can expand on something, is what keeps it exciting, right? So
Mm, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing having your voice, but you've got that
Right.
mindset of, I want to keep growing. So I'm going to keep
Yeah.
seeing how far can I push this. If I did this differently, how would it affect what I'm doing? And it's quite interesting because you were just saying, like, I felt so uncomfortable because it didn't look like me.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, you also want that, right? So there's this constant
Mhm.
push and pull that we've got going on in our creative practice of
Yes.
wanting to be able to do something totally new and different, and wanting to still stay true to ourselves, and um
Yes. I think
almost,
that's the key right there. It's the same true. It's the
yeah.
listening to your heart while you're
Mm,
creating and following that urge, I think. That's staying
yeah,
true.
yeah, that's true. And your themes, right? There's just certain themes that run through your work. And so no matter how you're expressing them, whether you're using collage or paint or, whatever it is, the themes stay consistent. And so
Yes.
it's just, yeah, I think it all comes together in the end. It might look totally different. Sometimes
Yes.
we're doing stitching and sometimes we're doing collage, but there is definitely like a thread. I think, as you're saying, that thread of truth that runs through
Yes.
everything that you're doing. So that's beautiful.
Which is,
Um,
oh, okay. You just set me up for the perfect segue into the class that I get to teach for the season of spirit, because the initial idea of telling your stories
mm,
happens without us thinking of it. Like you were just saying, that thread that runs through and being true to who we are. There are so many, like your collection of stories and experiences and characters that have been a part of
mm,
your life, whether you realize it or not, come out in the colors and the images and the words that you choose on your pages, because that's your, even if you're not going, I'm going to tell a story about like your beautiful class, your tokens class. even if you hadn't decided I'm going to tell a beautiful story about my gran, part part of who you are is based on the story of your grand being a part of you, and she was coming out in your pages probably long before you
Mm,
even had the concept of putting together your
mm,
tokens class. And so it's the same thing when I got to thinking about getting ready to teach the page and the story collecting that I walk everybody through in my lesson. The I had so much fun. So I went, this was a great opportunity to go spelunking through my old journals. I started by making a list of the stories, the main stories in my life and characters, just a few. And I went looking through my journals to see if I can find colors, elements, and bits of those stories without like
mm,
the pages weren't those stories, but I found my stories on those pages,
mm.
even though that was not I wasn't telling my life story. It was just, it was coming out in my creating. So I think if we follow that thread and stay true to what our heart is speaking to us, even during times where, like I said, my art wasn't looking like me. There's been a lot of times in my life and a lot of parts of my story where things have just been topsy turvy and didn't look right. And who knows if that's like, I don't know if that's all a part of it, but I am excited to see how intentionally thinking about our stories and intentionally
Mm,
thinking about almost a collaboration with, I was thinking of it as a collaboration with my heart and my heritage at the same time
mm,
that comes out. And I think whether we realize it or not, that's always coming out in our art because we are such a collection of all the layers that have
mm.
happened in our life, and that all comes out in our art, whether we intend for it to or not. It's coming out in our layers, I think. So
Yeah.
thanks for that setup. That was the perfect segue into all that.
Well, I can't wait for your lesson to go live because I know everybody is going
Mm.
to love it. I am in love with it and I think
Oh,
it's
good.
really powerful. Um, so it's beautiful. It's an amazing lesson. And you put your heart and soul into it. You can see it and feel it. So it's fantastic. Everyone's gonna
I'm
just love it.
excited. I'm excited for everybody to do it. I
Mm,
can't wait. I can't wait to see the pages that are
yeah.
created with other people's stories. It's really
Mm.
exciting.
The class is exciting, putting it together and
Mm,
putting it out into the world, but the reward of seeing people
yes.
responding and making art and telling their stories is what's really
Yes.
like that's the magic of putting a class together and putting it out into the world is seeing how people respond to what you are offering them. It feeds your
Definitely.
soul. Mm,
Yes. That anticipation of
mm,
them tapping into that part as well. Yeah.
yeah.
So fun.
Okay. And so I've got another thing that is just like it keeps coming back to me. So I'm just going to say it, right? You went through that crazy phase, but you were like,
Hmm.
"What the heck's going on here?"
Yeah.
But we've like just said that there are parts of ourselves, these different layers, and so obviously that was something that needed to come out. So I'm interested to know that art that you were creating then that didn't feel like you. Have you seen some of it being carried through, even if it's like in little fragments? Did you take any of it
Mm.
with you into the art that you continued making after that? Or do you look at those pages and you're just like, that is so foreign to me. I don't know what happened. Or are they just, do you see small fragments of it in other aspects?
That is a very, very interesting question. That makes me want to pull because I think I could probably pretty easily find those
Mm.
journal. I think there's either one or two journals. And now, so I'm very curious. I'm gonna go spelunking later today and see if I can find those and see if I brought pieces of that with me because I might have one. So one of the pages that really sticks out in my mind, and it was late, it was a while into that phase, and I think it was might have been Art Journal Advent. I did Art Journal
Mm-hmm.
Advent last year, or it might have been Care December, one of those. And the prompt was, I think the prompt was something you're proud of. And
Okay.
I made that page about that. I put I keep making art that doesn't look like me, and it's uncomfortable and it's awful, and
Oh.
like I can't remember what all I said on it. But then I wrote at the top, I'm proud because, and I crossed everything
Mm.
out that I wrote on the page except for the I keep making art, because I wrote I keep making
Oh.
art that's doesn't look like me. It's uncomfortable and it's this and it's that. And so I crossed out every word except for I keep making art, because
Oh,
that was the only
wow.
part. And then I wrote, this is the only part that matters, and drew an arrow because of
Oh.
all of those feelings. Like the only
Mm.
part that mattered was that I keep making art, even though it feels weird, felt it just felt so weird, and
Mm.
it looked weird, but I knew I needed to just stay in it. You know how you kind of
Mm.
like, if you go through something where you're in a situation where it just feels uncomfortable and you don't know how to resolve it, but okay, this is eventually gonna pass, because everything
Mm.
does, right? And if you just kind of sit with it and are okay that it's here for now, knowing that it's not going to be here forever, and just let it do its thing. And it eventually just kind of, and it wasn't like overnight where, okay, I woke up one day and made a
Mm.
page and I was like, yes, I'm back. It was like, I could see little snippets of it little by little. It was like, okay, this
Mm.
isn't quite as uncomfortable. It's not quite as like, because there were some pages I would look at them and it was almost like it was shocking. It was like, did this? Like I remember the first day that I felt it, I was like, did somebody, like, I almost thought my kids or my husband like was pranking me. Did they come in here and mess with my art journal? Like, it felt that foreign to me. It was really
Mm.
weird. So, but if anything you sit with, no matter how uncomfortable, if you just keep
Mm.
showing up and just keep, doing what you feel like doing, even if it feels weird, it'll eventually settle
Mm.
into an okay place. And then it'll, like, even right now, everything's feeling pretty good that I'm creating, but I also know that this will pass too, and I will, it's not an if, I
Yeah.
will hit another
Mm.
phase where I'm either trying something new, or adjusting my style, or playing with colors that aren't my go-tos, or if I'm going to keep growing, I'm going to have to be
Mm.
uncomfortable now and then. So I know right now everything feels fun and exciting. And I'm always like, I'm so excited to get in here and create because everything's flowing really good right now. But I know this is going to pass as well. And there will
Mm.
be another uncomfortable little thing to go through that I'll grow on the other side of as well. So it's all just part of it.
Well, I remember when you were in that phase, right? Because I was feeling really stuck and frustrated, and I just felt like nothing I was creating, I didn't love any of it. Like I
Mm.
just really hated everything I was creating. At the same time as you were going like, I don't know what's going on here. This is just looking weird to me. And I remember us chatting about it and feeling like I can't even tell her that it's going to be okay because we're like rowing the same boat, we're like trying to tell each
Yes.
other everything's fine, but I'm sitting here going, this is like really not good. And you're going, no, this, it's okay. This phase is going to pass. But you're also like telling me at the same time, like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
So we were trying to like keep each other motivated, but
Yes.
we were
Yeah.
not really being very convincing, I don't
No,
think.
we were both in the life raft and there was sharks around both of us. So we were like, oh, but at least we were in it together. Oh, so
Uh,
funny.
but it's as you say, right? You don't realize it's not a dramatic kind of one day you wake up and it's just fixed. You just have to go through it. You've just
Yeah.
got to get to the other side. it's a journey, and
Yeah.
it comes in waves, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the creative process, is that ebb and flow of your creativity.
Yeah.
So,
And I think a huge part of growing as an artist is realizing that that is all part of it, and
mm,
not being like not letting it rock you when it
mm,
happens, and just realizing, okay, this is part of it. I must be a real artist now if I'm going through these, up and down times, because when it first
mm,
happened, I was alarmed. I was like, uh-oh, is the magic gone? Is it ever coming back? Where did that go? And it's like all of life. It just ebbs and flows, and
mm,
it's just learning to be okay with that being part of the
mm.
process.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing thinking back how we've been a part of each other's journey from
Hmm.
from the start of this, and
Hmm.
I remember those days where you were talking earlier about like having the checklist, and I remember thinking, wow, Tracy's organized, because you had like a book, right? There was a
Yes.
literal, when you tell people you had a checklist, there was a
It was
literal
a literal
checklist.
checklist.
And
Yes.
you were dedicated, you stuck to
Very,
it. um,
very.
I think it's good though, because as you say, you had a lot of growth because of it.
Yes.
But for me, it's nice to see how, because naturally, I think you're a more fun, spontaneous kind of creative rather than the checklist sort of person.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see how you've journeyed through this.
I always have been right in the center. I've been 50 to 60% artsy fartsy, don't don't lock me into the boxes type person,
Uh,
and like 50, 60% of organized, give me the boxes. Like a lot of my jobs that I have been like administrative, secretary, church administrator, um, worked in the tech department at the school, like things that I've had to be very
mm,
organized, very regimented, very checkbox, but
mm,
also was able to use my creativity to function as well. So I think I have equal parts of that
mm,
inside of me. I think just at this age I'm realizing, and the fact that I right now am not working outside the home in a job like that, I can
mm,
lean in. I can lean into the artsy side of me, and doing the check boxes early on helped me get in a kind of like a routine of creating,
yep.
but now like I
Hmm.
don't need the check boxes now.
It's so inspiring for me to see how you have grown in your creative confidence, right? I think you might have those check boxes for you in the beginning were almost
Mhm.
like a kind of safety thing, right? You were making sure you were
My
getting
training
everything
wheels.
done.
Yep, yep.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And now, why I'm thinking about this is when you did your Wanderlust journal, and you like had the student mindset, right? I
Yes.
love that. I love the journal. I think it's so inspiring how you just went in and you were like, I'm a student. I'm here to learn,
Mhm.
and this journal is dedicated to that. And you did the notes, and
Mhm.
like you experimented in it. And I just, if I could get my paws on a journal. If you said
Mhm.
to me one
Mhm.
journal in the whole entire world, you could get one journal, that
Mhm.
is the one that I would want, because of
Oh,
how you had so much freedom in that journal, right? I
yes.
think that's the one for me where I could see how much you've grown in your creative
Yeah.
confidence.
I create totally different when
Mm,
I am focused on and I can tell when I'm doing it, when I'm thinking
mm,
of, okay, I really, really want this page to turn out amazing. I want an amazing page to look at when I'm done.
yeah.
Or when I'm just going, okay, I want to try this. I want to experiment with this. I want to see what happens when I do that. I get a whole different feel, and usually end up loving the experimental page far
Mm,
more than the page that I planned on. Matter of fact, I really had to keep that in mind when I was putting together the telling my story. lesson and the creating that I've done since then, because this is the way that I set up the story tin and the story creating is kind of like an ongoing creating that I'm doing.
Mm,
And I'm having to be very aware of not making the story and the photos and the
mm,
memories too important that I can't play with them. So
mm,
I'm reminding myself constantly, okay, I this is not the only place I can tell this story. It's not the only page I can dedicate to this story. If I endeavor
mm,
to tell it and it doesn't feel quite right, if I want to do something different, I can flip the page and do it again. And so to prepare for that, I'm like copying a few of the photos and those type things so that if I do a page with a photo and it turns out terrible and I don't want that to be the representation of that story.
mm,
I can turn the page and do it again. But making, the mindset of making it too important
mm,
really, it kind of hog ties my creativity. So if I think of that mindset as a student and in that Wanderlust journal, like there were pages that I started trying things and I would make notes as I was doing it just right
mm.
on the page. Nothing in
Yes.
there was a page that was like, okay, this has to be like a completed
Mm,
page that I can do. And I don't think I took too many pictures of those pages or posted much about those. Like it was just for me to learn from.
mm,
And wow, it was a whole different mindset and a whole different level of learning. Now, there's a ton of lessons that I never completed in that part of Wanderlust, in that mindset, that I keep thinking, okay, I'm gonna go back and like finish that. And I give myself that option, but I don't
mm,
feel like, oh my gosh, there's lessons I haven't finished.
mm,
It doesn't feel like an unfinished checklist in my brain
mm,
at all. It's an opportunity that's there for me if I
mm,
want it. If there's ever a day where I'm like, I'm not really sure what I want to create today, or if there's something, oh, I never got to learn that. I want to go back and try that. It's an opportunity for me, not something that's like, oh,
mm.
I better go do that. No gold
Yeah.
star for me if I don't get that done.
Oh. And I think a lot's got to do with the intention behind it, right? You had the
Yeah.
intention from the beginning was, I just want to learn as much as
Yes.
I can, right? Just,
Yep.
I want to
Yep.
soak it all in and use as much of it in my process moving forward. And so
Yeah.
you've achieved that, right? With each and every lesson you were learning
Hmm.
and applying it. So I think that also takes the pressure off of, I better get every lesson done. I better check it off the list because that's not the intention behind it.
Right. Right.
Mm,
Well, and I allowed myself the freedom as well. If I started watching something and it just didn't resonate with me, I
mm,
would take notes on the page, but there's several that I took notes on that I didn't create anything from, but I took the
mm,
notes in case I decided I wanted to sometime. But I think it was that allowing myself the
mm.
freedom, which could possibly be my word this year for the year, was allow. And so
Yep.
that was part of what I was learning this year, was
Mm.
allowing myself to say yes, because I said some scary yeses to things this year
Yeah.
that I had no idea how they would turn out when I said yes, but just I was gonna say I just got brave and said yes, but I wasn't brave. I said yes when I was scared. I was totally terrified and said I heard
Ah,
myself saying yes and I was like, "What are you doing?" But I
mm,
also have allowed myself to say no to some
mm,
things that seemed like they should have been obvious yeses. I allowed myself time to weigh some things out and make some
mm,
strategic no's in my life as well. And that a lot of that was in my creating. I didn't lock myself into, okay, you have to create this, you have to make this. I just have allowed myself to do a lot more flowing this year, which has been
mm,
really, really good, especially because there's been a few roller coaster things in in my
Yeah.
non-art life this year. So that mindset has really helped me kind of ebb
Mm.
and flow with all of that.
I can't remember where I heard it, but maybe those people that are listening will know. Someone once said that fearless, like there's a slogan, be fearless, do things, I don't know, that you should do things fearlessly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were just saying, if you can do something fearlessly, it's not challenging you enough. Like, you
Mm,
need to feel that fear to know that you are pushing yourself and that you are growing. So if you can
yeah.
say yes and you feel no fear, then you haven't gone outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I remember that. So now whenever I see like a mug or a t-shirt or something that says fearless, then I'm like, nah, that's not,
Yeah. What's the
like,
point then?
exactly, like,
It's
okay,
not
well,
much of a leap if you're not scared.
yes, exactly. If you can walk around being fearless, you're not trying. So,
Yes, yes,
so I love
yes.
that, you did. You said yes to some really big things, and it's been so exciting to be there with you, to be able to share
Yeah.
in the journey and to have you, like when we chat and you're going, "Oh, I said yes, and I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know what the heck's going on."
Yeah, what am I doing? I said yes to that? What am I doing?
But it's
I'm
so
growing. That's what I'm doing. I'm growing.
it's been
Because
exciting.
it's not all like it's not a flawless experience. There's a lot of well, just like most of my art journals are full of messy, like failed attempts at things, imperfection, ugly art. But there's bits of magic that happen in the midst of all of that. Like some of my favorite pages are a hot mess with little tiny bits of like just this magical part that would not have happened had I not made the hot mess for it to spark out of. And I feel that's kind of been the way with the yeses that I've said this year. There's a whole bunch of it that's just a hot mess. But then there's these little bits of magic that pop out and I'm choosing to focus on the magical bits and know that the mess is what supports that magic.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I love it because it comes back to that phrase of do it scared, right? You've done it. You've said
Mhm.
yes and you've gone for it.
Yes.
You've been scared, but you accepted the challenge to grow and to get outside your
Yeah.
comfort zone. And it's just been magical. So
Yeah. It
thank you so much, Tracy.
makes
Thank
me
you for
happy.
chatting to me and for
Yes.
yes, it's been fantastic. It's been so special to be a part of your journey and to just be there to support you. So, thank you for chatting to me today and for sharing so freely about your creative practice. And I hope that this is going to inspire many more to say yes to things that scare
Mm,
you.
yes, that's my hope as well. It's been so much fun to chat with you, and I'm so, so blessed that you have been my artsy friend along with me on this journey. You've helped give me courage to say yes because I've seen you say some crazy yeses too. So